Hey guys, it's Fat Basement Dweller back for another episode of Magic World 2. And today I want to continue working with our Witchery mod. And we did the basics last time, so let's get to the next step in the progression here. And that is the distillery and this. Yeah, I can spell really. And pretty simple. This is the most complicated. We made that last time, so let's go over and actually use this thing that I made, even though it doesn't. It's not really Fat Basement Dweller compatible, um, with no shift click from NEI functionality. But I do like having the inventory and the saved recipes. But shift click has made me lazy, even more lazy, if that's even possible. And this here, and a couple empty jars. There we go. And so if we just put this thing here and we open up the interface, we're going to see this nasty little icon down here, which means it has no power. Normally we're going to put our ingredients in here and our output's going to come out here after a time, but we've got no power. We can't use coal in any way to heat this thing up. So the power source in Witchery, as you probably noticed when I first opened NEI in the beginning, is called the altar. And we need to make an altar, which is why we needed the rowan saplings to grow the rowan wood. So for once in my life, I'm trying to be proactive and think ahead. See how well it worked. Now I'm in the thing that's going to drop stuff all over the place again. So let's go over here because I'm sure I've forgotten something as usual. And where did you go? No, you're the blood magic altar. Stone bricks, did I remember to get those out? Oh wow, I did. Amazing. But I didn't make enough for what we need, so I'll have to check on that in the Ars Magica 2 furnace. So let's see, this side and this side and one of these. So there we got we've got three. Why did those not shift click back into the table? I don't know. Interesting. So we got three. Unfortunately, to build one of these altars, we need six. And I don't think I cooked up enough cobblestone. So let me go ahead and do that real quick. I got one here. So it's probably not going to give us enough unless we get lucky and get three instead of two. And you guys probably noticed I've been putting up these bibliocraft shelves around the house, like the tool rack and these wall shelves to put the output of the oven up here for safekeeping, and we're going to be using some of these water bottles, and they don't stack, which is kind of annoying. So got some of these shelves down here for that. So how are we doing here? This thing is so slow. We really need to stop using this thing so often. I've been trying to repair my diamond pickaxe because I want to enchant this thing eventually. Hopefully get some unbreaking on it so we don't have to constantly repair it. But such is life with a diamond poor map. I'm going to have to do some serious mining here. I did quite a bit of mining actually to get that gold we needed to make the distillery. Found no more diamonds, so we got three left, which I guess we can make an enchanting table with. Have to mine up more obsidian. Or not. That may be one of the next things we do. So once this thing gets done and we can make our stone bricks, we should be able to finally make our altar. Alright, second set of altar blocks acquired. Now the question is, where do we want to put this thing? Well, if we want to use the stuff in the house, it needs to be within 14 blocks. So we're kind of occupying a lot of space over here. So let's see. Actually, I guess we could put it right here. This is actually a good place for it, I think, because supposedly this thing will generate more power the more living things around it, and this is basically where I've set up my impromptu dye tree farm. So let's see how this works. And putting it in that pattern, you see it completes the multi-block, and 1500. I think it's better than I got the first time I tried to test this thing. So let's see. Let's go back in here and see if this thing is working, or at least not giving us that nasty icon anymore. And it's gone. Good. So this should work for the moment. So what do we want to do to make this thing? Well, to get anywhere, we need to make some more complicated potions or brews. Not brews, those are from different, but these breath things. But you can't make them all in the oven. You can only make the basic ones. You have to actually take the basic ones. And so let's see, for our death, what was the death protection poppet we needed? And this is just one example. We needed the ender dew, which is just an ender pearl and some empty jars. So, oh yeah, I do have ender pearls, which reminds me of something else I wanted to tell you guys about. I don't know if you guys have run into this or not, but the Farlanders mod adds some really interesting extra Endermen. We've seen the golems already, and those are actually kind of neat. I like them. They serve a purpose and all that. But I think we needed a few more of these, so let's just throw more in there. There we go. So I'm mining away looking for my gold mine in my own business, and I start hearing these creepy whispering noises. And I'm like, wow, what's that? That's really creepy. And I look around and I find this Enderman just staring at me, which stops as soon as you see it. But you leave again and it starts up again, which, you know, it was interesting the first time or two, but after that it gets a bit old and annoying. And so kill these things and they go away, but then they come back again, which I guess is supposed to be more of like a creepy type creep you out mechanic more, but again, it gets old after about 5 seconds. So I don't know, I'm gonna have to look into see if we can disable those things, or may just disable that mod entirely, because I don't know, maybe I haven't gotten in it enough and I'm being just too harsh on it, but it just doesn't seem to have that much interesting in it. I mean, it's got the trade mechanics with the villager type guys, but I mean, I guess I've just never been a fan of that, even in vanilla Minecraft. But again, personal taste, I guess. So we got this stuff, the ender dew, and I don't know why NEI doesn't like that, but it just happens to be a case. I don't know if that's on the Witchery's end or what, but. And then, of course, there we go. I'm going right past death. Did I not see? Did I look at the wrong one before? I just sworn I saw ender dew. Oh, I'm looking at the poppet protection one. Well, good GG to me. So, what we really need were these two, I guess. But honestly, these things in single player, I don't see the use for them other than really late game in this mod. So we're going to want them eventually. So let's see if we can't find the death protection one again and actually get the right one. Probably because I clicked on this again and then I don't know, some really crazy stuff going on here. But what we want are this Mutandis Extremis. We haven't made any of this stuff yet, so wow, gas tier, really? Well, we're not going to be making that today because I don't have any gas tiers. But the point of this is, as you can see, obviously, is there's a very structured tier system to this, and this is the second tier after the oven. And you need this to make things like this, which you're going to need not just for, like I assumed before, random death, but you actually need these things to like get the coolest things in this mod, because otherwise when you try to do the rituals, I think they're called, you'll just die otherwise. And if you don't have one of those, it's probably not a good thing. At least that's the impression that I get from. There's actually books in game, like for each of the things you can craft and make up, and read these things and what it kind of tells you might or might not happen. So I recommend on that. And I think it's Book of Rituals. Oh, Book of Infusions, I think. Yes, I can spell and talk at the same time, really. And this is where some of the more interesting things start happening. But before we can even think about getting to that, we need to make the next tier device for this, and that's the Kettle. And let's see what goes into that. We need another one of these, which means we're going to have to use up another one of our diamonds, which leaves us with 2, which is enough to make an enchanting altar, right? So we need just a regular cauldron. Again, pretty simple. The most expensive thing is the diamond, and then having one of these from burning up rowan sapling. And I saved at least one up there. We got 2, so that's good. So let's grab one of these. And I'm going to craft this up. And after I do that, I'll be right back. Alright, so we got our kettle. Let's head outside, because to make this thing work, we have to keep a fire going underneath it. And since my house is made primarily out of wood, that's probably not a good idea to do inside. So let's go ahead and set this piece of netherrack I have in this hole on fire. And put this on top. And this clearing should be mostly safe. And if it isn't, I guess I'm going to have a visit from a really unhappy Smokey the Bear. But let's go ahead and throw some water in there. And now, this is how we make our brews. We need the ingredients, and we just toss them in there like you would with a Thaumcraft Crucible. The mechanics seem to be almost identical, actually. But I don't really have any brews I can make, because one of the ingredients from each of these brews seem to be designed to be really hard to get. Like this brew of raising looks really interesting, and we could probably make that, but the thing is, we can't really use the result of it without a necromantic stone, which I can't make either. So this mod is actually really complicated and hard to progress in really fast, which is good. It's a good balancing mechanic. It's just not good for video making unless you really prepare ahead of time and do this much later on in your Let's Play series. But I wanted to take a look at least the basic infrastructure of this stuff, because, you know, it's new and it's cool. What I want to shoot for eventually is making the flying broom, and which is why I have the saplings. We're growing the alder saplings because we need 3 of those to make the broom, and then to actually get it to the state where it's enchanted, we need to get to the 4th stage of Witchery, which is actually the ritual or the circle magic combined with the ritual stuff, and the brews that we make to infuse the things in. So very complicated, but that's good. Flight mechanics shouldn't be easy, right? So, thing is with our distillery here, what we're going to want to make is vitriol oil because this is what we want because we need gypsum to make the chalk for the rituals. So let's go ahead and throw a bunch of these foul fumes in here that I have. And we need quicklime as the second ingredient. To get that, we just put this wood ash in a crafting table and do that. And that'll do its magic and give us the vitriol oil. And this is what we're interested in as the byproduct. Because to do the rituals, we're going to need some of this chalk. There's 4 different kinds actually. And this is the basic kind, so then we're also going to need some tier of these goddess. Breath of the Goddess and lapis, which I actually have, I think. I have 1, so. Interesting. To make chalk, you need. Okay, well. Again, balancing. So we got 1. Need 1 more, and we need to throw some lapis and that in there. Alright, there's our 2 gypsum, and I'm going to throw this and that in there, and our empty bottles back in there. And that'll get us what we need to make the chalk. And the chalk is good because we need that. We need that to make the color, the dye, the other stuff. Redstone, gold. Wow. Yeah. Water artichoke globes. Oh, and there's that ember moss. Blaze powder, another thing I don't have yet. So definitely going to need to be doing some big collection before we can move on in this regard. And I have some of those water artichokes planted. Let's see if they actually. Oops. I guess you have to break them. I'm like used to the Magic Farm mechanic where you can actually right click things and get any seeds back. Apparently not. Here's some. Got some seeds from those 2. But apparently it's not 100%. Alright, regrow those. We'll just put these away so we have them. Basically, I realize we haven't really accomplished much, just have to show what we have to show for our efforts, but apparently the mod author, this is really a fan of infrastructure building before you can actually do anything. And the poppets, those are a little bit easier, but as I mentioned before, I think they're more interesting in a PvP environment, and then this one for later on for some of the more interesting infusion rituals. Like this is definitely a PvP item. This is protection in the PvP environment against your voodoo protection poppet, I guess. And this actually, I guess, is a good single player one. It can protect your tool from breaking if you have a really nice tongue. And I went through these before, so I'm not going to do it again. And this one's good for hard mode, I guess, but I'm not playing on hard mode. And drowning, falling. This one's probably good for me since I like to fall to my death a lot. So we've got almost our complete infrastructure built now, and it's getting dark, so let's take care of that because we don't want a creeper coming and blowing up our newly built infrastructure. And the other thing I want to get back to is this, because this is getting really high. And I want to go ahead and craft a simple fire spell so I don't have to worry about Go ahead and store this stuff to get some room. So I don't have to worry about becoming a pacifist and getting nauseous every time I kill something. So, like when I want a cheeseburger, I don't want to get nauseous when I have to kill a cow for some beef. So, let me grab the things here, make sure I have everything, and I'll be right back. Alright, so I don't know what happened. My recording derped, but we got a simple fire spell here. I cooked up just a projectile and a fire damage spell, and it's a lot easier to make than the healing spell because we don't actually need essence, which means we don't really need this thing. So we really only need the crafting altar for this. So let's go ahead and try this thing out and see if it starts lowering my healing affinity, which is the whole point of this exercise. You, Mr. Cow, have volunteered. I guess it would be Ms. Cow. Doesn't have horns on it. So let's go check the affinity. Make sure my healing affinity is going down. Yes, because this was 0.84, I believe, and our fire affinity is going up as we would expect. So very intuitive. The cross affinities are I don't want to say polar opposites, but I guess that is fitting, being on the opposite side there. So increasing this will decrease that. So I wanted to take care of that before that pacifist healing affinity got any higher. There are obviously good sides to it. With this so high, even with the natural healing turned off, I actually am healing naturally. So go figure. But we don't want that to get to full 100%. For stated earlier, we don't want nausea every time we kill something. And so I think that's a good wrapping up point for here. We've got some more of our witchery infrastructure built, our powering altar, our distillery, and our kettle. We're just going to have to do a lot of collection before we can get much further with this particular mod, because as you saw, gas tier, I think magma cream, tongue of dog. We need to find some wolves and kill those before we can make some of these brews. So yeah, I'm gonna do most of that collection stuff off camera. And speaking of collection, I also need the last shard for Thaumcraft, because we really need to get into that mod. Can't ignore Thaumcraft for too long. It's just huge, interesting mod that we can make some useful stuff with right off the bat, which in single player doesn't really seem to be the case with the Witchery mod. But different mechanics for different game types, I guess, and for different people. But yeah, I'm really interested in that flying broom, because I don't know, it seems a little bit more fitting for a magic theme mod. A flying broom over, say, like a thermostatic harness from Thaumcraft, but that's just me. But I think the thermostatic harness is a lot easier to control. We'll have to see that as we move on in this series, but I hope you guys are learning along with me here. The Witchery mod, as you can see, I'm learning as well from the derps that I have perpetuated in this video. But I hope you guys enjoy and are learning, and I'll see you next time.